I'm Sam.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're MB Board Gaming, and today we are taking a look at Steam Up, A Feast of Dim Sum, which is published by Hot Banana Games. And let's see, designers are Pauline Kong, Marie Wong, and Heyman Lee. This plays in about 40 to 60 minutes, 2 to 5 players, and Andrew is going to show us how to play, and then we'll be back for our final thoughts.
All right, so I've gone ahead, I've set up a 3-player game of Steam Up, A Feast for Dim Sum, and I will talk real briefly about setup itself because I think that it's important to point out. So during setup, it's pretty much going to work the exact same way. The only thing that's going to be different might be these little rings that you have on the board, and those are going to change depending on player count. So as you can see, the number of pips here is 3. That's for a 3-player game. On the other side, it's going to be for 2 players. And then you have a whole nother ring here for 4 and 5. Okay. And as you can see, there are lines on the rings to mark out different feast zones. And players are going to have access to one of these zones while they play. That will be your feast zone where you're going to be able to buy steamers from. Okay. So I did want to point that out. Also, with these steamers, you are going to have different numbers of dim sum in different steamers. So 6 of them are only going to have 2 pieces, 6 of them will only have 3 pieces, and 6 of them will have 4 pieces. And they are stacked randomly, or you can set up a little alternately where players get to choose how to stack them, that kind of stuff, if you want to do it that way. Players are also going to be choosing, I believe there's 12 different characters that you can play as. Each of them have their own alternate setup of how many different tokens and fortune cards that they're going to be receiving. So I believe the highest is like 4 cards, and then maybe like 2 or 3. I think the dragon has 3 of each, right? So mostly ranging somewhere between 1 and 4 of tokens and cards, and they'll each have their own little special abilities that give them a little bit of an asymmetry to them. All right, and everybody will have their own little tokens that they're going to be playing with. So if we have the dragon and the rabbit and the tiger, they will go over there. Okay, and that will be your score tracker. So what you're going to be doing on this turn is the goal is to score the most points. And the way you're going to be doing that is you are going to be scoring points by getting the dim sum and placing them on your player board. Depending on what spot you place them on, that's how many points you are going to get. And again, these player boards are going to fluctuate depending on who you pick. You might have scores that go to 0 if you get too many, or you might have some that go up to, that are all 1s, some that go up to 3. It just kind of depends on who you pick, or 4 in this case, okay? So that is going to be the main way that you're going to be getting points, is by getting these dim sum, putting them on your player board, and getting points for that. Another thing that you're going to be getting points for are going to be your fortune cards, and we'll get to that in a second. The game is going to end in one of 2 ways. Either this Steam counter is going to go all the way to 0 and trigger the end of the game, or you're going to run out of these fate cards. Now, you only use 18 of them. You create a deck. There are others, so there is a little bit of variety there to where you might see different cards each game because there are more than 18 in the game. All right. So that is pretty much how you're going to win, scoring the most points. At the end of the game, you win the game. Now, on your turn, what are you doing? On your turn, you're going to have the option to take 2 actions, 2 different actions, unless your player ability says otherwise. All right. And they're very simple actions. One is going to be gain a token. Simply take one of these tokens and add it. And why would you want to do that? Because what you're trying to do is get these tokens, and you are trying to match up what is in a steamer, and you will spend them on your turn to take that steamer and place the pieces on your player board. So that is why you are going to be collecting those tokens. Another thing is going to be playing fortune cards. So you can draw a fortune card and rotate the board, or play a fortune card and rotate the board. So if you were to draw, you just literally would take one of these cards and you will rotate this 90 degrees. So you will just turn it. There are arrows on the board and you just line it up with the arrows. Okay? That'll be how you rotate it. You can go left, right, however you want. Or you can play a fortune card. You will resolve it, and then you will gain whatever benefit it has, and you can rotate the board however you want yet again. Okay? So you're going to be doing that. Now, something to point out is that for every 2 fortune cards that you have at the end of the game, it's worth 1 point. Also to point out, for every 2 tokens that you have at the end of the game, it's negative 1 point. So something to keep in mind as you're playing. The next action that you can do is going to be exchanging 2 fortune cards for 1 token. So you get rid of 2 for 1 token. And finally, your action is to purchase a steamer, where you will spend these tokens that you have to take the steamer on top. Now, the steamer has to be in your feast zone. So if I was the dragon, I might have a feast zone from here to here. The game does include some markers in order to mark each player's feast zone in case you forget. So that means I can only buy a steamer that is in my feast zone. Okay? So keep that in mind as well. And you're just going to keep going until one of those 2 events are going to happen. Speaking of events, these fate cards at the beginning of each round will be revealed. And it is going to give whoever, it's going to give a certain event that's going to happen. A lot of times it's going to affect the person who has the least amount of points, or hardy points as they're referred to in the game. And so in this case, the player with the fewest points is going to gain a token of their choice, right? Simple little things like that. There might be some that make you exchange tokens or cards, or shuffle everybody's cards together and redistribute them, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's what a round is going to look like. Everybody's going to be taking these turns, going around the table until somebody triggers the end of the game. Okay? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea. One thing I should point out real quick is that while you are doing setup, you do want to make sure that you place these in here correctly. So you have to do it where the little lip is at. If you do it this way, the dim sum will not stack. Okay, so you have to make sure you put it in correctly. Also, make sure the pieces lie flat. I have noticed in a couple of games that if you just put them in there and they're not lying correctly, if you try to stack something on top of it, it won't fit perfectly. Okay, so they're going to be a little wobbly if you do it that way. So make sure you keep them flat so that they stack really well. All right, but that's going to be how you're going to play. Only thing I didn't cover was this dice. This is just used based on some cards you roll. And depending on what you roll, you might gain or lose something. Most of the time, it's going to be a token based on what it's rolled on. But that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and let's go give you our final thoughts.
All right, and we're back. So we will start with your positives on this game.
Okay. So positives for... I'll stand it up. I'll put it over here. How's that? So my positives for the game, this is the deluxe version that you're seeing. And so I'll be speaking primarily, well, obviously just about the deluxe. I can't really speak to the production of the retail edition. I believe the little dim sum are actually just like little cardboard tokens, whereas in my deluxe edition that we got through the Kickstarter, you actually have little squishy bits. Mm-hmm. So production is obviously very high. Those bits are really nice and squishy. They look really neat on the table. It's really nice to grab them. I do wish there was like a pair of chopsticks, but I still need to pick up a pair. We went and we had sushi, and I forgot to grab a couple extra pair of chopsticks just to throw in the game so that players could just grab it. But that might, slow the game down a little bit. But I thought it'd be very thematic. Yeah. So the steamers are really nice, really great. It is maybe a little, you have to be careful and make sure that when you do set up the game that you put the steamers correctly, because it is easy to accidentally flip it over and put the pieces in and put them together and realize you did it backwards, kind of thing. So that can be a little bit problematic. Just make sure that you, they tell you in the rule book to make sure you fill it a certain way. That way they stack correctly. Otherwise, they're not going to stack. But the steamer's really nice. The board is really thick. It has those little rubber feet on the bottom to keep the board from sliding around. It can be a little tough even with those to rotate it because you have like 6 stacks of steamers. And so still spinning that, your board still might slide around, but it was really nice. The board felt really thick and sturdy and nice. So production, very high value, I think, here. Really, I think they knocked it out of the park when it came to that. With being able to do like setup, we're talking about positives. So positives, I like the theme. So thematically, I think it's very, very thematic, obviously. You know, you're trying to gather food and eat it and pass it around, and you're trying to grab the pieces you want before other people take the pieces that you want to eat. And so, because everybody has their favorite. So thematically, very well done. Turns are pretty snappy. You're only going to take 2 actions, and most of the times those are going to be different unless you have a player ability that lets you take the same action multiple times. But they're going to be pretty quick. You know, taking tokens, taking cards, playing cards, rotating the board, that kind of stuff. Pretty quick. So downtime is not very much, is not very high. So yeah, I think that is nice. I think that goes for a lot of really good positives for me. What about you?
I would say positives for me were, okay, I love the components. Like, I love that they're squishy. And I like squishy bits, and I feel like just, you know, the quality, it's good quality.
Right.
I don't think I would like it if I had like cardboard tokens. I do like those squishy bits. So that's cool. I think I had no idea what dim sum was, like, at all, you know, and so I was like, oh, this is kind of like sushi. But I think it's cool having the board that spins with the different steamers. That was a neat part of the game. I think it was also cool that you got to pick your like different animal character.
Sure, there were a lot.
Yeah, there were a lot to choose from, and they all had their own special abilities, which I think made the game interesting. It had like cute little things on the back that you could read about them.
Sure. It was like the year of those things.
Yeah,
right?
like the year of the horse
tiger,
or the year of the tiger or whatever. So that was neat. I think I really loved being able to do the different actions too. So the fortune cards were a part of the game that I really enjoyed, because then there were just different things that you could do with those fortune cards. So it wasn't just like, oh, take a, you know, take one of the pieces and put it on my board. But it was like, it added more, like different things you could do in the game.
Options for you.
Yeah. So I liked the fortune cards. Overall, I think it was fast to play. It was easy to learn. And I did like the whole concept of like the board kind of, you wanted to get more and more points based on however many like food items your animal wanted. Yeah. So everybody had different scoring. And so that was, I think, was cool. Like, it was a different way of playing, because you had to think like, okay, they might turn the board. So then I'm going to have to like figure out how I'm going to get the ingredients I need or the foods I need.
Right.
So I just thought it was a different type of game. But I liked it. So yeah.
Okay. How about negatives? I'll let you go first for negatives.
I think for me, negatives was maybe just not having so much control over what was in your area that you could pick up. Like, I mean, the board was turning, and it was like, you know, you could have a plan and then someone turns it and then you're like, oh. Right. So you didn't really have much control over that, but I think that's really like the only thing. Everything else I honestly liked.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, the game is very light, all right? So there's not a huge barrier to entry, so I guess you can take that as a positive. But there's also not a lot of depth in the game for me. For me, the game looks amazing on the table, has a great table presence. It'll draw people into play, but I do feel like after maybe 1 or 2 plays, you'll be like, I experienced it, I'm done.
Like, you'll get sick of it easily.
Right. There are a lot of different characters to play, which at first thought you think, okay, there's a lot of replayability. I can try a lot of these. I don't know how well balanced those are. In all honesty, every time somebody has played the dragon has won. right?
True, yeah.
And like I said, it is simple. Our 6-year-old was able to play it, and he actually ended up winning. He played as the dragon, but that is, I think,
and it's
primarily
8 and up.
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, it is easy to learn.
Right. So it is easy to learn, but I think if you are a avid gamer who's looking for something that's a little bit has some meaty decisions, I don't think that this is that. Those fortune cards are cool to have. Every 2 is worth a point. And I found myself at the end of the game just wanting to just get cards because I didn't want to take tokens and potentially lose points. Because it's really hard to have a strategy, right? Like you might have a goal of, I need the sticky rice, the phoenix claws, the barbecue dumpling, whatever it is. But there's always a possibility that there's not that many in the steamers because they're randomly drawn out and put in the steamers at the beginning of the game, and not all of them are out. So the ones you might need that are your favorites, there might not be very many. And they might not be in your quadrant, and you got to make sure nobody else turns it away from you. So if you're trying to plan your turn, it's really hard to plan ahead because the board changes so much. There's cards that move the top steamers around. There's cards that take pieces off of steamers. So you might really want something, but someone else might want it too, or they might play a card that's going to move it around or mess it up or cover it up. And so it's really hard to get a strategy going. It honestly kind of feels a little bit like Take That. There are some Take That cards in the game, and it's all about maybe stopping someone from being able to do it. But it is hard to plan your turns ahead of time because there is a lot of luck. There is some Take That there, and you're just kind of waiting. Turns are fast, but chances are the thing you wanting to get might not be there by the time it comes back around.
Yeah, and you're going to have to change what you were going to do.
Right.
Your strategy will have to change.
So literally the whole game is going to be you pivoting based on other people's decisions. You're not going to be able to really come up with a real strategy, right? You're kind of at the whims of everybody else and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And everybody feels like that. There are a lot of different characters, but because there's so many characters to play, there's not a big difference from one to the other. One might score less points or more points, or, oh, hey, you get to roll this dice and something good or bad may happen. There's a lot of luck in the game. So if you're looking for something where you can have a strategy, no. This is gives you a filler feel in maybe slightly longer time. Like the game plays 40 to 60 minutes, which I think that's pretty accurate, but I don't know if it's a game that I want to invest. And that sounds bad. I don't know if I want to invest an hour into playing this game. Because I don't think I am getting a good return on my investment. I'm not investing a whole lot, but I'm not getting a lot of excitement out of the game. That's why I think like it's a looker on the table. Production is great. It's going to draw you in, but you're going to play it and you'll be like, that fell flat. It fell flat for me.
So it's not you. Were you ultimately excited when you got this?
I was excited about the theme. I was excited about the production value. I did see this at Gen Con a couple years ago, and in 2021. And the person that was trying to teach it to me, I don't think they really knew how to play it. They didn't have a booth or anything at that time. It was like I think it was like a volunteer at one of the play testing table kind of thing. And I think I'd gotten there like right when they were setting up. So no fault. I'm not gonna try to fault them or anything like that. And it was very much a prototype form. But I didn't get a good sense of how the game was played. And so I just was kind of given a real brief overview of the game. I didn't get to really do any hands-on with it. But again, there's not a lot of depth here. Those event cards, those can be really swingy too. I mean, the person that's in last place gets it or whatever, right? And you flip it over and it's like, oh, you get something, whatever. Or, oh, you guys swap a card or you swap tokens, right? And it's like, oh, great, more randomness to mess up the already limited strategy that I can make.
There's that one, is it a fortune card that you play and then it's like, or no.
Take all the cards, shuffle them all together, and give them back equally.
It was one of the events.
You had 3, right?
Yeah. And that I was like, no, because then you're once again getting random stuff.
And some of those fortune cards are better than others.
They are.
So I think there are some balancing issues there. Again, I think this is a great little game that it's not going to be the highlight of your game night. This is going to be something you pull out and be like, hey, look how cool these pieces are.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just play with the pieces.
Or if you're a fan of dim sum.
Right, or you're a fan of the food, right? It's very lightweight, easy to get to the table.
Yeah.
Just not one that I'm going to find very exciting to get to the table. So, a great looker, not a lot of depth, in my opinion.
Okay.
So with that being said, I will digress. Let's go ahead and jump into our final scores. How about you go first? I'm assuming yours will be higher.
I think for me, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
7.5?
Yeah, about a C plus for me, you know?
For me, I'm going to give it a 6. It's one that I will play, maybe reluctantly. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it'll get to the table from time to time, but not one that's going to keep me coming back to it. And because of all the reasons that I already mentioned. So yeah, that's a 6 for me. I know there was a lot of hype around this game, so I'll be interested to see. I haven't seen any other reviews or anything from anybody else on it yet. So I'll be interested to see how this is received. Again, there's a lot of good stuff here, but I think there is some lackluster. Yeah. So let me know, was this something that you were anticipating this year? Obviously, don't let my comments sway you if this is something you think. I just want to give you some information based on our experiences, and you can make that decision on your own. But let us know, is this something that you're excited to try? I know a lot of people seem to be excited about it for this year, so we'll see. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Who knows? We'll see. But until next time, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next video. Catch you later.
Bye.